A few weeks ago, I predicted the top six tiers in the English football pyramid. I wasn't going to go any further down, but as I'm hoping to cover a lot of Southern League Premier Division Central this season, I'm going to try and predict that division. There's two clubs in the league that I do have a bit of affection for. There's obviously Quorn, who have come up to that league. I'm making a behind the scenes episode, which will be out sometime next week, about them. And obviously my history with Bromsgrove Sporting. I did play a few games for Bromsgrove Rovers back in the early 2000s, and I've covered Bromsgrove Sporting a few times on this channel. So it's a league that I've got a lot of interest in. The format's going to be very similar to my last predictions in the sense that I'm going to go through the teams in alphabetical order and tell you where I'm going to place them in the league. I've looked into these teams in quite a lot of detail. There are one or two of them that I don't know a massive amount about, but feel free to tell me in the comments section if you think I'm wrong. That's absolutely fine. And yeah, this is kind of an early prediction. I might redo it before the league starts, but we're only a few weeks away from the league season starting. 22 teams in the league, 4 go down, 1 goes up, and 1 goes up through the playoffs. I'm going to start with AFC Sudbury because they are first in alphabetical order. And they finished 17th. They were in a relegation battle. They survived on the final day last season with Barwell going down, but then getting a reprieve. I haven't seen a lot of transfer activity from Sudbury, and the league is getting stronger. Like, I found the relegation battle very hard to predict, and the promotion race. So I think this is going to be a really good league, which is why I'm going to cover it a lot. AFC Sudbury, I'm quite worried about. I think the league is getting stronger, and I don't think they have. So it's not a good start. I've put AFC Sudbury right at the bottom in 22nd, which brings us to Alvechurch. Another team that, it was 10 years ago now, I saw them battle with Hereford for the Midland Football League title, and they pushed us all the way. I think we finished with 107 points, and Alvechurch got 100 maybe, something like that. I remember the game at Lye Meadow where Martin Horsell saved a late penalty, so Hereford came away with the win, and that was effectively what won us the title and promotion. I am going back there in a few weeks when Hereford go there. It's good to see Alvechurch doing well and in the Southern League Premier Division Central. I haven't seen many signings from them either. I might change my mind after I see them play in a few weeks' time. As I've said before, I think the league is getting stronger. I think Alvechurch will survive, but I think they're going to be pulled right down the table into a relegation battle. They finished 13th and fairly comfortably last season. I've got them in 18th place, so just staying up. And with how close this relegation battle is going to be, it could be as close as goal difference or staying up on the final day. So Alvechurch 18th, which brings us to Banbury United. So they finished 12th last season. They've made quite a few signings, some good recruits. I don't think they've recruited well enough, or I don't think their squad is strong enough to compete at the top end of the table. I think they're going to be mid-table comfortably again this season. So I've got Banbury United finishing exactly where they finished last season in 12th. Now, Barwell is quite an interesting one because they were relegated on the final day last season. They got a reprieve because of Farsley Celtic's drop from the National League North, but they actually dropped 3 divisions before resigning from the Northern Counties East League. So Barwell received a reprieve. It looks like they're going to make the most of it because they've brought in quite a few players. They're quite lively in the transfer window. Will they be strong enough to move right up the table? I don't know. I think it's going to be a season where they are going to be in that relegation battle. But like I said, I think they will make the most of the reprieve, and I think they'll stay up again. I've got them 1 place above Alvechurch, so I've got them in 17th. Like I said, they were 19th and relegated last season. And then Bishop Stortford. So Bishop Stortford, not great memories for me last season, because when I did my FA Cup challenge, I was round the corner at Chelmsford when Hereford were knocked out by Bishop Stortford in the third qualifying round. Disappointing result. They've kept most of their squad. Haven't really seen a lot of new faces come in at Stortford. I think the league is going to be a lot stronger. There was quite a lot of teams on that final day that could have been relegated, and I believe Bishop Stortford were one of those. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. They were definitely in a relegation battle. They ended up finishing 15th, but I think points-wise it was 2 or 3 points maybe from the relegation zone. With the league being stronger this season, I think it's going to be a tough season for Bishop Stortford, and I've actually got them going down. I've got them in 20th place, so Bishop Stortford going down. So 2 of the relegation places have been taken already, and 2 of the strugglers. So we will go to the top end of the table at some point. Next up is Bromsgrove Sporting, probably my favourite team in this league. I've got a lot of affection with the club. They were so good to me last time I went there. Scott Ady Linford has done a fantastic job there since they were in the relegation zone last season when Paul Smith left. They have lost several key players. They've lost Jamie Meadows, which is going to be a massive loss. He's joined Telford. They lost Aaron Roberts, goalkeeper Charlie Price, who I think Charlie Price is one of, if not the best goalkeeper in this league. Such a presence. He's gone back to Stourbridge, which kind of almost where he belongs, really. So those are 3 big players. Aaron Roberts going to Redditch. Big players that they've lost. But I think Bromsgrove Sporting have replaced players well. They were 14th last season. I think it's going to be a similar season for them. If they get off to a bad start, it could be a disastrous season, but I think they are strong enough to avoid that relegation zone. I think Scott Ady Linford knows what he's doing at this level. So I've got Bromsgrove Sporting finishing in 15th, which brings us to the first of the newly promoted sides, Bury Town. So they came up last season through the Isthmian League North playoffs. And are they going to make the step up? They had the second best defence in the league last season. I think they'll give it a go. This is a big step up, though, to step 3. I've got a friend, I'll link his channel actually, the footy channel, Groundhopper, Tony, who I've been having this debate with him today where he thinks Bury Town will stay up. I can't see any way that they do. Undoubtedly a good team. They did really well to come up, but I think the standard that they're up against in this league is going to be a lot stronger. So I've got Bury Town going back down, and I've got them in 21st place. I don't think they're going to cope with the step up very well. So that's 3 of the 4 relegation places gone, which takes us closer to the top of the table as we've got Halesoe in town. Now, they have made some fantastic signings this summer, players that I know well as a Hereford fan. They've signed Jamie Willett, who I believe was on dual registration with them from Tamworth last season. Kyle Finn, which is a fantastic signing. And the best signing, I think the best signing in this division is Jason Cowley from Hereford. He plagued by injuries a little bit last season, didn't play as much as he wanted to. Still, one of our best players, and he's dropped down a level to go and play for Halesoe in town. So busy in the transfer window. They finished 4th last season, beaten by playoff winners Telford in the playoff semi-finals. I think Halesoe are going to be right up there. There's 3 teams that I think that are going to be in that title race. And I think the goals that Jason Cowley is going to bring if he stays fit is going to push them. And I've got Halesoe in town winning the title That's a bold prediction because there's two other teams that I think are going to push them very close. But I've got Kettering Town winning that title. And next is another team that is going to be in that title race, and Harborough Town. They have a very strong squad, which they demonstrated in their FA Cup run. They reached the second round for the first time in their history. Gave Reading a game in that second round, and they took them to extra time where they lost 5-3 in the end. I think Harborough Town will follow on from last season. They've brought in a few new players. I'm not sure they really have to strengthen the squad that much. I think they're almost there. 5th place last season, beaten on penalties by Kettering in the playoff semi-finals. I've got Harborough Town in the title race. I think the top 3 are going to be quite far clear of the rest. I've got Harborough Town finishing in 3rd. Which brings us to Kettering Town, another team who did well last season. They were runners-up to Bedford Town last season. Another team that had a brilliant FA Cup run, knocked out neighbours Northampton Town before losing to Doncaster Rovers. Kettering had quite a few players leaving. The league's got stronger. I'm sensing that there's a bit of unrest there at the moment. Undoubtedly one of the strongest squads in this division. If they can keep most of the squads they've got, most of the players they've got now, I don't think Kettering Town are going to have as good a season this season as they did last season. And I think there are some other teams that are going to come in stronger. This playoff race is going to be brilliant. It's going to be so close. And I've got Kettering missing out. I've got them in 7th place. And then a team for me that overachieved last season is Leiston. They finished in 10th. The crowds that they're getting compared to the rest of the league just shows what a great job they're doing in staying in this league so comfortably. I think their average crowds are about 200 odd. Finished in 10th, comfortable finish. At one point they were up there among the playoff places. Done so well to stay in this division. I think they may have overachieved just a little. If you think I'm wrong, let me know in the comments as always. I think they are going to plummet down the table, not into the relegation zone, but I think that they are going to get pulled into that relegation fight this season. I've got Leiston finishing 16th, but I think they'd probably be happy with another season in the Southern League Premier. And then it brings us to the one club that came down into this league from the National League North, which is Needham Market. So they did well getting to step 2. I don't think they were strong enough. I mean, evidently they weren't strong enough because they came down. I think they struggled. They really struggled with that step up. And I don't see, with how strong this league is, I don't see them being in a position to bounce straight back. I think they'll be up there among the playoff places. I don't think it's a league they're going to struggle in. I think they might get a shock. Like I think if they get a couple of nasty away ties early in the season, they might start losing some ground. I've got Needham Market finishing just outside the playoffs, probably level on points with the playoff teams, or just outside. Needham Market in 6th, just above Kettering, which brings us to the second club, probably my second favourite club in this division, which is Quorn. So like I said, my behind the scenes at Quorn episode will go out in the next few days, probably early next week now. I've been to Quorn a couple of times. Absolutely fantastic club. They've got a brilliant setup. They are hoping to stay in this league. And I think they understand what a step up this is into step 3. I think, particularly at home, I think Quorn are going to shock a few people. They have ex-Accrington Stanley Billy Key, who plays up front. It's a bit of a goal machine. or was when he played for Accrington. I think he got a few last season. They got a lot of players with experience at a much higher level. The manager, Ryan Bessick, has played in the National League North and the National League itself. He's still player manager. And I think this is going to be, it's the highest they've ever been. And I think this is going to be a brilliant season for Quorn again. I don't think they're going to be in the playoff race. I think that's a bit optimistic. But when I spoke to them, they said they'd like to finish 16th or 17th. I think they're going to be much better than that. I've got Quorn finishing in 9th, and I think a couple of teams are going to get shocks going there. I think, particularly at home, they're going to be very hard to beat. They only lost one game all season last season. Got a draw with Tamworth a few days ago. I think that was a pretty strong Tamworth squad as well in a pre-season friendly. So it's going to be a good one for Quorn. Another one of the promoted clubs was Rail Bedford, and I think they have to be the strongest of the promoted clubs. Rivalry with Bedford Town. I think they're looking to keep up with Bedford Town. Cryptocurrency funded. I think they've got new investors as well, so they've got a massive budget. Squad looks strong. I think they might take a bit of time to adapt at this level, but I think that they will be the other team making up that top three. I think they have to be, don't they? I've got Rail Bedford finishing in 2nd place, and I think it'll be between them and Harborough Town in the playoffs. So Rail Bedford 2nd, Rail Bedford 2nd. Redditch United stayed up on the final day last season. If they had finished 4th from bottom, they would have ended up with a reprieve because of Farsley. Redditch, I think, have made quite a lot of improvements on last season. They've brought in Aaron Roberts from Bromsgrove, which is a massive signing. He's a proven player, great defender, and he scores goals as well at this level. Matt Clark left in the summer. Mike Fowler has taken over. I think they're in the rebuild process, so I don't think they're going to do anything drastic in this league. I just think it's going to be like a season of consolidation for Redditch. So I've got them in 13th place. And one of the teams that I think could cause a bit of a stir in this league is Royston Town. They seem to have retained the majority of their squad, as well as brought in a few more experienced players. They were 11th last season. I've got a feeling they're going to put in a bit of a playoff charge here. They've done some good business this summer, and I think they're going to be effectively the surprise package in this league. Whether they'll be strong enough to actually break into the playoffs, I don't know. I think they will have a better season. So I've got Royston Town in 8th place, which brings us to Spalding United. So Spalding United, I was quite surprised when they signed Yusufu Cisse, who was one of Hereford's stronger players last season. We seem to have lost quite a few. It's a great signing. He'll be fantastic at this level. They had a strong season last season. They finished 7th, Spalding. And yeah, I think they're going to be strong. I think they are going to be a strong squad. Cisse is going to bring them a lot of goals. He's going to create a lot of chances. I think they're going to go better. I think Spalding drop into the playoffs. I think they'll get the last playoff place. So Spalding United 5th. And another club that seems to be doing a lot of good business is Stamford, building a very strong squad. They've kept most of the squad from last season. They finished just outside the playoff places, 6th last season. They seem to be very busy. Just checking my notes. Yeah, they've brought plenty of players in, and I think Stamford are going to cause a few problems for a lot of the bigger teams. I don't think they'll break the top 3, but I've got Stamford finishing 4th, which would mean they'd have to travel to Harborough in the playoffs. They're going to have a good season. And we go from a team at the top to one that I think is going to struggle. We've got St Ives Town, finished in 16th place, survived on the final day last season. They've been fairly busy in the transfer window. I'm not sure they've brought in enough to pull them away from danger. And I've got St Ives Town making up the bottom four. I've got them in 19th place and unfortunately going down, which brings us to Stourbridge, which was the last Southern League team I covered last season. It was a brilliant game. It was meant to be the last game at the War Memorial Stadium in its current form. They will be boosted by the fact that they've been allowed to keep playing at the War Memorial Ground. They finished 9th last season, which was a really good finish considering everything that was going on at the club. They've got Charlie Price back in goal, brilliant goalkeeper at this level. I think there's a good atmosphere at that club as well, especially boosted by the ground. Not sure it'll be as good as it was last season, but I'm going to put them in 14th. So we've got two teams left. We've got Stratford Town and Worcester City, and I think these two are going to be mid-table. Stratford Town have brought in Ethan Patterson at centre-back, which means they've got 4 ex-Northern Ireland youth players. They finished 8th last season, which I think is a brilliant finish. They've brought in a few players. I think with the league getting stronger, it'll be similar for them this season. So I've got Stratford Town in 10th. And Worcester City came up through the playoffs from Quorn's League last season. Worcester City are a massive club, and I don't think many would argue if you say that they are one of the biggest clubs at this level. They are on the way back up, and I think that it's a matter of time really before we see Worcester back in the National League North, or would it be South maybe? Massive club, promoted with Quorn. Paul Downing signs for them, brings them a lot of EFL experience, over 300 appearances in the EFL. I think Worcester are going to have a good season. I think with the teams in this league, they're going to struggle to break into the playoffs. I think they'll be competing with Quorn in the middle of the table, competing with Stratford, Banbury, teams like that. I've got Worcester City finishing in 11th place. So let's quickly recap. We've got Halesowen Town winning the title. Any one of the top 3 could win that title. I've got Rail Bedford, Harborough Town, Stamford and Spalding United making up the playoffs. Needham Market, Kettering Town and Royston Town in the playoff race but missing out. Quorn, Stratford Town, Worcester City, Banbury United in the middle of the table, with Redditch United, Stourbridge, Bromsgrove Sporting in the upper portion of the bottom half. The relegation battle, Leiston, Barwell and Alvechurch will stay up, with St Ives Town, Bishop Stortford, Bury Town and AFC Sudbury going down. So let me know in the comments what you think of that prediction. Just come and tell me I'm wrong if you want. You don't have to give me a reason. But do let me know who you think is going to win this league title. It's a very good league. I'm looking forward to covering a lot of games. The fixtures are actually out next Friday at 1 p.m. and I think I'm about as excited for these fixtures as I was for the National League ones. I'm going to cover a lot of these grounds next season. I'm certainly looking at Harborough, Kettering, Halesowen. I'll obviously be back at Bromsgrove and Quorn. Like I say, my behind the scenes episode at Quorn will be out early next week. So make sure you're subscribed to my channel if you're enjoying this content so far, and I'll see you in the next video.